Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for our July the 6th lesson in A Course in Miracles Workbook for Students, which is I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. And I'm sitting here on the banks of Silver Creek, just south of Joplin, underneath a redbud tree. So we'll talk about the redbud here in a moment. Let's look at yesterday's lesson just as a recap. Let me read the first little bit here. Salvation of the world depends on me. Quite a bold statement, but look how he starts it. Here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. So the very thing that you think that it's kind of an arrogant statement, he says this is the statement that will take arrogance away from every mind. And of course we understand that's because we're just fulfilling our function, which is to bless the world, which is to save the world, which is to bring an example of forgiveness and kindness to the world. Here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own, but that which has been given you. It offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on other roles or on another role. It does not judge your proper role. It but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring heaven's peace. So that's just what we do. That's why salvation of the world depends on us, because we're just doing our part, which is to save ourselves and everyone in the world. And we're not all freed until everyone's free. Let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. All that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. What is given us to do, we have the strength to do. Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. Yeah, the Holy Spirit knows us perfectly. Today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. All it says is that your Father still remembers you and offers you the perfect trust He holds in you who are His Son. It does not ask that you be different in any way from what you are. What could humility request but this? And what could arrogance deny but this? Today we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call of God Himself. So there we see that we're not going to just say that modesty is outraged. We're going to recognize that God has a plan for us, and we're just going to do our plan with humility. True humility, accept your part in God's plan for salvation. The word specious, I pronounced it improperly yesterday, but it's specious, and it means superficially plausible, but actually wrong. So let's read that sentence again. And what could arrogance deny but this? Okay, what could humility request but this, and what could arrogance deny but this? Today we will not shrink from our assignment on the specious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call of God Himself. All right, so let's look at this here. The functions which the world esteems are so uncertain that they change 10 times an hour at their most secure. They change 10 times an hour at their most secure. What hope of gain can rest on goals like this? In lovely contrast, certain as the sun's return each morning to dispel the night, your truly given function stands out clear and wholly unambiguous. There is no doubt of its validity. It comes from one who knows no error, and his voice is certain of his messages. They will not change nor be in conflict. All of them point to one goal, and one you can't attain. Your plan may be impossible, but God's can never fail, because He is its source. So your plan may not be very, the ego's plan may not be very secure, and indeed it's not. If it, at its very best, if it changes 10 times an hour. But he says that God's plan it can never fail, because God is its source. Do as His voice directs, and if it asks a thing of you that seems impossible, remember who it is that asks, and who could make denial. Then consider this: which is more likely to be right, my ego or God's voice? And how do you know it's God's voice? Because it's a voice that speaks for peace. That's why we need these quiet times to be still and let our thoughts settle. You know, like the jar of water that has some mud in the bottom, you shake it up and you can't see through the jar, but you let it sit for a little while and it all settles out. Try it, a little experiment. Get a jar, put a cap on it. After you put a little dirt in the bottom, shake it up and with water in it, and then just let it sit. Hour later or so, come back, it'll be clear again, or maybe more clear, but it'll definitely be clearer. Well, this is what we want to do: spend our little quiet times in the morning and in the evening, so that we can know what is the voice for God, so we can hear what is peaceful, what is true. We know it's not difficult to know what peace and love would have us know. So here we are. Then consider this: which is more likely to be right, the voice that speaks of the Creator of all things, who knows all things exactly as they are, or the distorted image of yourself, confused, bewildered, inconsistent, and unsure of everything? Let not its voice direct you. Hear instead a certain voice which tells you of a function given you by your Creator, who remembers you and urges that you now remember Him. Let's go ahead and read these last two paragraphs in the lesson for yesterday, and just let Jesus talk to you again. And take this with you. His gentle voice is calling from the known to the unknowing. He would comfort you, although He knows no sorrow. He would make a restitution, though He is complete. A gift to you, although He knows that you have everything already. He has thoughts which answer every need His Son perceives. He has thoughts which answer every need His Son perceives. We need those thoughts. That's why we need the hourly remembrances throughout the day, and why we need the stillness in the morning and the evening. All right? Because we need those thoughts. Although He sees them not, we need the thoughts, even though we don't see them. For love must give, and what is given in His name takes on the form most useful in a world of form. And the last paragraph there again. These are the forms which never can deceive, although they come from formlessness itself. Forgiveness is an earthly form of love, which as it is in heaven has no form. There's no forgiveness in heaven because there's no condemnation. And we can bring heaven to earth. Remember, that should be our prayer. Jesus told us to pray 2,000 years ago. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Yet what is needed here is given here as it is needed. In this form you can fulfill your function even here, although what love will mean to you when formlessness has been restored to you is greater still. Salvation of the world depends on you who can forgive. Such is your function here. All right? So there's our function, to forgive. See the good. Look past illusions. Let them go. That's what forgiveness is recognizing that they are not so. Only love is real. All right, so that's our function, and as we've learned that, we're going to now give it, and that's what our lesson is today. I bless the world because I bless myself. All right, now, hey, before we do, I'm sitting under this redbud tree, like I said. I broke a little branch off that has some little pods on it. I've shown them before when it was in flower. I think I showed it in the early spring. What's forming its pods now. These pods are edible, and they're a little bitter, but you can break the beans out of there too as they get a little older. The salads, they work nice in salads. Some people just put the whole pod in. They're a little chewy, at least at this point. They may get a little softer. There's a lot of tannin in the bark, and a lot of people have used that for different medicinal qualities. Basically, as a febrifuge, which reduces fevers, and what else? For coughs, colds, and influenza. Anyway, there's people that have used it. Native Americans used it. I mean, it was a food for us. So let's remember that. The flowers work nice in salads, and so does the little pod peas. You can either cook them or eat them raw, is what I'm understanding. All right? It's a fun journey to learn all this stuff, isn't it? All right, let's go to I bless the world because I bless myself. No one can give unless he has. No one can give unless he has. In fact, giving is proof of having. We have made this point before. What seems to make it hard to credit is not this. No one can doubt that you must first possess what you would give. It is the second phase on which the world and true perception differ. Having had and given, then the world asserts that you have lost what you possessed. The truth maintains that giving will increase what you possess. How is this possible? He starts off in paragraph 2. For it is sure that if you give a finite thing away, your body's eyes will not perceive it yours. Yet we have learned that things but represent the thoughts that make them. Things but represent the thoughts that make them. And you do not lack for proof that when you give ideas away, you strengthen them in your own mind. Okay, so if you give something away, you get to think about it more, and it makes it even stronger in your mind. And of course, if they accept it as validity, it even makes it even stronger. Perhaps the form in which the thought seems to appear is changed in giving, yet it must return to him who gives. Nor can the form it takes be less acceptable. It must be more. So it increases. As you talk about something, it increases. I feel so blessed to be making this journey with you all, because as I get to share these things, they increase in me. So you turn around and share it with your friends, because it'll increase in you. I bless the world because I bless myself. Hey, and by the way, thank you so much for taking this journey with me. Evidently, there's some of you all that are sticking right with me and doing every lesson. I don't know how you're doing it. The way I do it, of course, I do it a day ahead of you so that I can upload it on time. And then what I'm realizing is that what I would probably encourage you to do, and kind of what I do, is I just listen to the lesson in the evening. You know, before I go to do my final meditation, I just listen to Will talk to Will. It kind of encourages me to hear the lesson again and to take that into my silence at the end of the day. And that way, I don't really care how you do it. If it helps you do it whatever way you want. But I do want you to be really tuned in to not needing me. I mean, I'm glad that I can be helpful to get you to be doing your lessons. And that's what I hope I am. It's kind of like a support mechanism, a cheerleader of sorts, to help you do your diligence in the course. So how you do it is fine, but I really want you to not have me, where you just go to the lessons with the book and do if you're doing it online, however you found it. ACIM.org has the Foundation for Inner Peace's version posted all online now. ACIM.org. And thank you so much, ACIM.org, for doing that. Of course, I'm using the Course in Miracles Society's version, which is the original edition. All right, but all of them are good. just whatever one you've got, be sure to use it. If you run into an area that says a little differently than what I'm reading, well, look at it, and if you need to get in touch with me, send me an email. Will@goodwillbuilders.com. It would be a good email to send me. I can't actually have the discussions at the end of our videos because I want this to be for children. So I want children to be able to access it, and whenever you do that in YouTube, then it doesn't allow you to do the discussions afterwards. But you're welcome to send me an email. I'm not real good at reading them all, but I'll do the best I can. But anyway, let's continue. All right, paragraph 3. Ideas must first belong to you before you give them. If you are to save the world, you first accept salvation for yourself. But you will not believe that this is done until you see the miracles it brings to everyone you look upon. Herein is the idea of giving clarified and given meaning. Now you can perceive that by your giving is your store increased. 4. Protect all things you value by the act of giving them away. Protect all things you value by what? Locking them up and keeping them safe from thieves? No, by giving them away. And you are sure that you will never lose them. What you thought you did not have is thereby proven yours. Yet value not its form, for this will change and grow unrecognizable in time, however much you try to keep it safe. No form endures. It is the thought behind the form of things that lives unchangeable. The thought behind the form of change, of the form of things that lives unchangeable. 5. Give gladly. Give gladly. Gladly, 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 gladly. Give gladly. You can only gain thereby. I'm listening to Zach Bush talk about how that in biology, everything is in a state of trying to share with each other and cooperate with each other. You see it in the trees, the way that they all grow and leave room for each other. You see it in the what's becoming known now in the bacteria of the gut. Let's say that when new bacteria come, they work together, they cooperate, they make room for each other. It's a really beautiful system where giving and secrecy is not used. Giving is used. All right, so give gladly. You can only gain thereby. The thought remains and grows in strength as it is reinforced by giving. Thoughts extend as they are shared, for they cannot be lost. There is no giver and receiver in the sense the world conceives of them. There is a giver who retains, another who will give as well. So when you give, you're still keeping what you gave. You get to keep the thought that you gave away. And now you've given it to somebody else, and now they can give the thought away. So it increases thereby. There is a giver who retains, another who will give as well. And both must gain in this exchange, for each will have the thought and form most helpful to him. What he seems to lose is always something he will value less than what will surely be returned to him. 6. Never forget you give but to yourself. Never forget you give but to yourself. Remember, we're all one. We're all the body of Christ. Who understands what giving means must laugh at the idea of sacrifice. If we understand what giving means, we'd laugh at the idea of sacrifice, that you could lose something. Nor can he fail to recognize the many forms which sacrifice may take. He laughs as well at pain and loss, at sickness and at grief, at poverty, starvation, and at death. He can laugh at all those things because he realizes he cannot lose. He recognizes sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all. And in his gentle laughter are they healed. And in his gentle laughter are they healed. All those ideas that came from sacrifice, which are pain and loss and sickness and grief, poverty, starvation, death. He recognized sacrifice remains the one idea that stands behind them all, and in his gentle laughter are they healed. 7. Illusions recognized must disappear. Accept not suffering, and you remove the thought of suffering. Your blessing lies on everyone who suffers when you choose to see all suffering as what it is. The thought of sacrifice gives rise to all the forms that suffering appears to take. And sacrifice is an idea so mad that sanity dismisses it at once. Wow, no sacrifice. This is a new way of looking at life, isn't it? For some of us, this is a big change. We'll take it into the silence and ask God to show you the truth of this. Let's read that paragraph once again. Illusions recognized must disappear. Accept not suffering, and you remove the thought of suffering. Your blessing lies on everyone who suffers when you choose to see all suffering as what it is. The thought of sacrifice gives rise to all the forms of that suffering appears to take. And sacrifice is an idea so mad that sanity dismisses it at once. 8. Never believe that you can sacrifice. There is no place for sacrifice in what has any value. If the thought occurs, its very presence proves the error that error has arisen, and correction must be made. Your blessing will correct it. Given first to you, it now is yours to give as well. No form of sacrifice and suffering can long endure before the face of one who has forgiven and has blessed himself. Give up what comes before you. Let it go. Forgiveness. Give it up. Let it go. And bless yourself instead. 9. The lilies that your brother offers you are laid upon your altar, with the ones you offer him beside them. Who could fear to look upon such lovely holiness? The great illusion of the fear of God diminishes to nothingness before the purity that you will look on here. Be not afraid to look. The blessedness you will behold will take away all thought of form and leave instead the perfect gift forever there, forever to increase, forever yours, forever given away. 10, the last paragraph. Now are we one in thought, for fear has gone. And here before the altar to one God, one Father, one Creator, and one thought, we stand together as one Son of God. Not separate from Him who is our source, not distant from one brother who is part of our one self, whose innocence has joined us all as one. We stand in blessedness and give as we receive. The name of God is on our lips, and as we look within, we see the purity of heaven shine in our reflection of our Father's love. And the last paragraph. Now are we blessed, and now we bless the world. What we have looked upon, we would extend, for we would see it everywhere. We would behold it shining with the grace of God in everyone. We would not have it be withheld from anything we look upon. And to ensure this holy sight is ours, we offer it to everything we see. For where we see it, it will be returned to us in form of lilies we can lay upon our altar, making it a home for innocence itself, who dwells in us and offers us His holiness as ours. I bless the world because I bless myself. I bless the world because I bless myself. So let's be busy blessing the world today. And one thing I didn't tell you about the redbud, I probably should say that before we get off here. Its Latin name is Cercis candensis. So anyway, I did want to say that. Back to our lesson let's practice well. I bless the world because I bless myself.